and Donald Sutherland. There's Jennings.
Now, was Milton saying being bad is more fun than being good?
How's it going out there, YouTube land and also social media lands? Welcome to an all-new video. In this video, we're going to do a tribute to a celebrity that just unfortunately passed away a couple days ago, and was a great, amazing, prolific actor who just was amazing and so much fun to talk about. So we're going to go right into that. Before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button so to miss this video and the other videos I put up. As always, people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms such as X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Patreon even. Definitely check that one out too as well. I pretty much post regularly, so definitely check those out. So people, let's get right into this. So welcome on and all to an all-new video. So like I was saying before, we're doing a tribute video to a fallen star who just recently passed away, and was a prolific and amazing actor that just was so fantastic, enjoyable, and always a joy to watch. And that, of course, happens to be Mr. Donald Sutherland. Yeah. Donald Sutherland. Yeah. So, fortunately, Donald Sutherland passed away on June 20th. At the ripe old age of 88. He only had a month to go before he would have turned 89. He was born on July 17th, 1935, and was a amazing actor who had so much amazing filmography, had so much great chemistry with different people, that was really good friends with a ton of actors and actresses over the years, and just was a really genuinely great guy that, believed in a lot of different things. He believed in, anti-war and all this kind of stuff. So he was just a really interesting individual that, was a huge loss to the acting community. Now, his career spanned 60 years. He started back in 1963 and, was doing stuff all the way up to 2023 before he dealt with this long illness, is what they're saying is what unfortunately caused him to pass away. Now, if you didn't know this, Donald Sutherland was actually Canadian. He was born in New Brunswick, Canada. And I never realized that he was Canadian all these years. When I was looking up stuff about, Donald, I was really shocked that he was Canadian. And I was like, really? How did I not know this whole time he was Canadian? Because I really never felt that in any of his movies, like a lot of Canadian actors, they had some sort of Canadian reference for the actors. And I never really saw that for Donald Sutherland. So I was really surprised to see that he was Canadian, which I should have known that from the get-go when he's one of my favorite actors. But anyways, Donald Sutherland was just such a great actor. I mean, he has such a huge filmography, from playing in MASH to one of the more recent films that he did, of course, was Mr. Harrigan's Phone, which was based off of a Stephen King novel that was made for Netflix. And, unfortunately, even though we got 60 years of him, I mean, we got over 141 films that he was in. And I think that that's a pretty damn good filmography for 60 plus years. Now, most of his movies I absolutely love. One of my all-time favorites, of course, was his film Virus that he did in 1998 with Jamie Lee Curtis, William Baldwin. And he just was so awesome in that film. I absolutely loved him. I loved what he becomes in the film. And I just loved what Donald did with the character and how he really portrayed it and gave us this really solid characterization that just was on point for that film. It just really showed how great of an actor he was. Now, I know a lot of people will probably recognize him as, President Snow from the Hunger Games films. Now, honestly, his performance as President Snow was a really fantastic feat too, compared to some of his earlier roles, like in Kelly's Heroes, Clute, films like that. I feel that on the level that he portrayed in that film was exactly the same dramatic level as he did with those films, which were considered huge hits and really were kind of his rise to stardom. MASH really kind of catapulted him into the stratosphere, along with Kelly's Heroes, And those two films really are what pushed him into the limelight, I feel. Then once he did Invasion of the Body Snatchers in 1978, the remake of the 1950s version, he really became hugely successful. Because a lot of people, you talk about Donald Sutherland, what do most people talk about? Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I think is a fantastic film as well. That great cast in that film, he just played off them so well. He gave really fantastic performances. And I just really enjoyed everything he brought to any of his performances over the years. And I think he was just a really fantastic actor, and he deserved a lot more accolades and a lot more, award nominations for how talented he was. Because he always played the characters so well. Like, he could play them very, evil. And at the same time be very, straight-laced about it. He could also do goofy. He could do all kinds of different genres of type of film that I've seen him in. Especially, like, look at his character in Animal House. How goofy that kind of character was. And him being, in a relationship with, Karen Allen in that. And I think that was hilarious. And just how he, brought that to life. And he just was a really fascinating person, too, who truly loved making films. That truly was a thespian, was a movie star that truly was one of the biggest stars of it all. This one really hit hard when I heard he died, because he was such a great, achievement, a great, person in that stratosphere of, Hollywood, of old Hollywood, and what Hollywood used to be about making films and generally entertaining people. And, Donald was just that type of actor, and he brought that to life in his films. Now, throughout his life, he was married 3 times. His first wife, Lois, he was married to for about 7 years, from 1959 to 1966. That marriage did not bear any children. He did end up having children with his second wife, who he was married for about 4 years or so, who was the mother of Kiefer Sutherland and his twin sister, Rachel. Then his last wife, his third marriage, which was to, who is currently married to when he passed away, was since 1972, so they lasted about 52 years together, so I think that was a great long relationship, but they ended up having 3 boys together. So I think it's, a testament to the time when you're able to make around 50 years and a marriage, especially in Hollywood, is really awesome. And I always enjoy seeing these couples that are married for, decades, that are in Hollywood and still faithful to each other. I think that's really fantastic. And Donald Sutherland, just you could tell, was one of those types of people. He really did love his wife and, enjoyed his family life. But another interesting take, I'm sure a lot of people realize this, but he actually had an affair with Jane Fonda after they worked on a movie together, and they ended up doing like a anti-war PSA together as well, that he ended up, for a while being with, which I thought was kind of an interesting little tidbit that I recall hearing about it previously, but I had forgotten about it, and so it was kind of like a holy crap, I forgot about that type of moment. So I think that was an interesting little tidbit. Also, another tidbit that I found out was when he was filming the film Kelly's Heroes, he actually contracted spinal meningitis, which is a pretty serious meningitis. I mean, it's one of the ones that's a little easier to control, to get rid of, versus other ones. But, still, that's, crazy to think that, he got such a deadly disease while making that film. And that it's amazing that he lasted this long. Also, when he was growing up, from my understanding, he was a sick kid all the time. He had several different diseases throughout his first 6 years of life. He had polio, rheumatic fever, so many different things, but yet he made it to the great 88 years old, which is pretty impressive for having all those, diseases that you had to go through. But overall, Donald was just such a great actor. He had so many great films. Another one of my favorite films of his was Outbreak, of course, him playing the general that's like the kind of the main bad guy in the film that's, you know, telling them what to do, him going against Morgan Freeman's character, and he was just so freaking fantastic in that. Because at the same time, even though he was so evil and he was the bad guy, you still loved him. And I love that Donald was able to bring that to life like that and give us these characters that you really did genuinely like him, but at the same time, he could be doing the most evilest stuff, and you still would love him and like him. And I just love that about that character in Outbreak, and he did such a great job with it. Space Cowboys was another great film he was in with Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, James Garner. He was fantastic in that as well. Absolutely loved him in it. He did a great job in that as well. He kicked butt in that film. He was in so many great films, that just were super amazing and just so enjoyable. And, he really was an amazing actor. And, thankfully he did have the chance to work with his son Kiefer a few times. One of the first times was in 1996 when he was in the film A Time to Kill, which I actually forgot he was in that too as well until I watched it recently. And I was like, holy crap, I forgot he was in it. He was so good in it. And I just remember thinking that, once again, like I said, all the allocates he could have got nominated for or gotten, he never did. And unfortunately, the only Academy Award he ever got in his life was in 2017 when he got the Honorary Academy Award. He never won for any of his films he was in, unfortunately, and, never really won many awards. He was nominated a few different times for Golden Globes, Emmys, and stuff like that, and he actually ended up winning a couple times for a show called Citizen X that he did. And, unfortunately, like I said, I just wish he had gotten so many more nominations, so many more awards for how talented of a thespian actor he was, and how great he was, and just how he always brought greatness to his characters that was so enjoyable and so amazing. If you haven't seen a Donald Sutherland film, highly recommend go check out one now. He has a huge filmography. Like I said, 141 films. He was a truly amazing person. It's very sad he passed away, but his movies will live on forever. His acting will live on forever, and it'll be so enjoyable to keep on watching, for the time to come, all these years after his death. And he definitely was one of a kind, an awesome guy, and he was just a really enjoyable actor, and he will sorely be missed. So that's it for this tribute video, folks. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for liking, also thank you for subscribing. And if this is your first time here, or you have been here before, don't forget to check out any older or new videos if you haven't seen mine yet. As always, people, just want to throw a huge shout out to my older new followers. You're rocking it. Thank you so much for being a subscriber and watching. You guys are making this all possible. And as always, people, if you want to show support for the channel, please check out my Patreon page, where once you become a patron, you get access to all kinds of extra crucial you don't get here on my YouTube channel, such as outtakes, bloopers, stuff like that. Also, saying what I film next, which I'll be starting to do a poll for what next movie you would like to see me review in my Patreon once you become a patron. So definitely check that out, people. As always, people, catch you next one.